Imagine waking up tomorrow with the power to ask for anything. Unlimited wealth. Absolute power. Fame that lasts for generations. Now let me ask you an uncomfortable question. Would you have the wisdom to choose the right thing? Because one man was given that chance. And his choice was so unexpected, so against the norm, that it changed history forever. And the most impressive part? That exact choice is what made him the richest man of all time. If you truly understand this today, the way you pursue success will never be the same again. Let's step inside Solomon's mind for a moment. To understand what made Solomon who he became, you need to see the full picture, because most people only look at the result, but ignore the weight of the responsibility that came before it. Solomon didn't inherit a comfortable throne. He stepped into a kingdom at a critical moment: growth, expansion, enemies on every side, and a nation full of expectations. He wasn't just another king. He was young, inexperienced, and had to prove himself quickly. And here's something almost no one talks about. Being David's son didn't make things easier. It made everything harder. David wasn't an ordinary king. He was a respected leader, a feared warrior, and a spiritual reference for an entire nation. Which means Solomon wasn't just starting, he was being compared constantly. Now picture this. A young man, just getting started. Power in his hands. Pressure from every direction. And decisions that could shape the future of an entire nation. What would most people do? Seek control. Seek security. Seek wealth to protect themselves. But this is exactly where everything changed. At a defining moment, God appears to Solomon in a dream and does something rare, maybe even unique. He gives him total freedom. No limits. No conditions. Ask for whatever you want. Think about the weight of that question. It's not just about what he wanted. It's about who he was in that moment. Because when someone gives you everything, your choice reveals what truly rules your heart. And while most people would choose power, money, or immediate advantage, Solomon did something completely unexpected. He asked for wisdom to lead well, not for himself, but to fulfill his responsibility. And that one decision, quiet, deep, and almost invisible, set everything else in motion. Wealth, influence, fame, legacy. None of it came first. It came after. And this is where most people still get it wrong today. They try to start at the end of the story. Now pay close attention. Because what you're about to hear is not surface-level motivation. These are principles that have stood the test of time and still work today. If you truly apply this, there's no way you stay at the same level. Here are the principles that transformed Solomon. 1. Prioritize wisdom over wealth. Solomon understood something most people realize too late. Money without direction disappears fast. The real difference wasn't that he had access to wealth. It was that he had the clarity to know what to do with it before he even had it. While most people chase money hoping it will solve their problems, Solomon took the opposite path. He pursued capability, discernment, and understanding. Because when you have wisdom, you don't rely on luck. You create opportunities. Wisdom helps you see what others can't. It keeps you from making impulsive decisions. It puts you years ahead of people who are just reacting to life. And here's the deeper truth. Money can come quickly, but without wisdom, it leaves just as fast. So if you flip the order, if you choose to grow internally before you grow externally, you don't just gain success. You keep it. 2. Make just decisions. Solomon built something more valuable than gold: trust. And trust isn't demanded, it's earned. In a world where people chase advantage at any cost, he chose to be fair, even when it required courage, patience, and sacrificing short-term gains. And that made all the difference. Because fair decisions build reputation. Reputation builds respect. And respect opens doors that money alone never could. People began to trust Solomon's judgment. And when people trust you, they follow you, support you, and place you in positions of influence. Now think about this. How many opportunities might you be losing today, not because you lack skill, but because you lack credibility? Being just isn't about being perfect. It's about being honest and consistent enough to do the right thing, even when no one is watching. And in the long run, that always comes back, in the form of growth, connection, and authority. 3. Think long-term. Solomon didn't just build a kingdom, he built a legacy. While most people are trapped in short-term thinking, chasing quick wins, easy money, and instant gratification, he focused on structure, continuity, and lasting impact. And that changes everything. Long-term thinking requires discipline. It requires giving up what's easy now for something greater later. It requires making choices that, at first, don't seem to pay off. But those are the choices that build something real. Solomon organized his kingdom, strengthened alliances, invested in development, and created stability. He wasn't playing to win the day. He was playing to win generations. And here's a truth most people don't want to accept. Fast success impresses. But consistent success builds empires. If you start making decisions based on who you want to become in 5, 10, or 20 years, your life starts to change at its core. 4. Value knowledge and continuous learning. Solomon never saw himself as someone who already knew enough. Even as a king, even with power, he kept observing, learning, writing, and reflecting on life. That reveals a rare mindset, continuous growth. Because the moment you think you know everything is the moment you stop evolving. Solomon studied patterns in life, human behavior, decisions, and consequences. He didn't just learn from success, he learned from mistakes too, his own and others. And that accelerated his growth in a powerful way. Now think about this. If you improve just a little every day, in a year, you won't be the same person. That's how real transformation happens. Not in one big leap, but in consistent small steps. If you believe learning can change your life, comment, "Wisdom is wealth." I want to see who's truly committed to growth. 5. Prosperity as a result, not the goal. This is the most counterintuitive principle, and maybe the most powerful of all. Solomon never made wealth the ultimate goal. And that's exactly why he achieved it. While most people are obsessed with money, making desperate decisions, taking any opportunity, and focusing only on the outcome, Solomon focused on the process. He focused on becoming better, making better decisions, building better things. And wealth came as a result. This completely shifts how you see prosperity. Because when money is the only goal, you become vulnerable. Every shortcut starts to feel justified. But when your focus is growth, excellence, and purpose, money becomes a natural outcome. And here's the final truth. Those who chase money might gain it, but those who become valuable will inevitably prosper. And that's why Solomon's story isn't really about wealth. It's about principles that create wealth. Now this is the part that separates people who just feel inspired from those who actually change their lives. Because understanding these principles matters, but applying them is what changes everything. So let me show you how to bring this into your daily life, in a simple but incredibly powerful way. First, make learning a daily priority. It doesn't have to be big. Start with 10 minutes. A video, a book, one insight. The secret isn't intensity, it's consistency. Because when you learn daily, you start thinking differently. And people who think differently act differently. Second, Stop living in instant mode. Every decision has two prices, the now and the future. Solomon chose what would sustain tomorrow, not what satisfied the moment. Before you make any decision, ask yourself, is this moving me closer to the life I want, or further away? Third, be fair, even when no one is watching. This is one of the most powerful invisible advantages you can have. Integrity builds a foundation that no one can take from you. You might not see immediate results, but they come, and when they do, they come strong. Fourth, reevaluate who you surround yourself with. Your environment isn't a detail, it's a strategy. The people around you shape how you think, the decisions you make, and even the size of your dreams. If you want to grow, you need to be around people who are already moving forward. And finally, maybe the hardest one. Stop chasing money like it's the solution. Desperation leads to bad decisions. Urgency creates shortcuts. And shortcuts come with a cost. When you focus on becoming more prepared, more disciplined, and more aware, money stops being the goal and becomes the result. Remember this. When you improve who you are, your results improve automatically. Now tell me, which of these principles do you need to work on the most right now? Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. Solomon wasn't extraordinary because of the gold he had. He was extraordinary because of the mindset he built before the wealth ever came. And that completely changes how you should see success. Because here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Most people want the results, but don't want the process. They want success without discipline, growth without internal change, different outcomes while making the same choices. Solomon did the opposite. He trained his mind, raised his standard for decisions, and built a solid foundation. And only after that, wealth showed up. Because prosperity doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in how you think. It shows up in the decisions you make. And eventually, it becomes your reality. Now I want to leave you with one final question. Simple, but powerful enough to change everything. If you had the chance to make one request today, would you ask for money? Or for the wisdom to build anything you want? Because at the end of the day, money might solve the present, but wisdom builds the future. And maybe, the answer to the life you want to live is hidden in what you haven't chosen to pursue yet. If this video spoke to you, don't forget to like and subscribe. Because here, we don't just talk about success, we build it.